has identified, now this is my understanding, I'd like to do the research on it and do this, Amanda. Governor Nathan Deal said Lanier Tech has identified 17 jobs in the state of Georgia that there's not enough there's not enough workers, and the jobs are available. And the way that, just to put it together, to summarize it, the way that the Georgia Technical Institute works is they identify a need. So, for example, welding, because the governor talked about this, like, short supply of welders. They identify a need, and as soon as they identify a need for a corporation like Kubota, whether it be the paint shops, what parts of the factory, they put the training program together, and you can actually go to that training program in that tech school, Amanda, at no cost whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
And I think they're up to 17 jobs, Amanda. 17 that they've identified. No cost. There's no reason to come out of school with $50,000 in tuition cost. There's no reason to do that. I mean, look, I don't want to get in trouble because I'm really cautious here. Tell me if you know where I'm going. Hey, look, we're not saying you shouldn't go to college if you don't want to, okay? We're not saying there's not careers out there that a college education is definitely necessary. But we're here to tell you that there's been thousands upon hundreds of thousands of jobs out there that it used to be, you know, you went through the 60s. I'm just not joking. You went through the 60s and your high school diploma. Everybody's going to freak out now. But your high school diploma, when you walk through there in the 60s and in the 70s, would get you a pretty good job. 60s, started in mid-70s, would get you a pretty good job. Okay? It wasn't until we got into the 70s that we were sold on that if you didn't have a college degree, you couldn't make money. All right? So we went and we shifted gears in this country that everybody had to go to the state schools, the big state schools, state university. Everybody had to get in, and we had to figure out. Well, then we actually had that old-fashioned thing called working your way through college when that first took place. You know, selling magazines, subscriptions door to door, encyclopedias, whatever it may be. You know, working at the gas station during the summer, putting your money up. There was that old-fashioned thing called working your way through college. Then we, seemed to think that everybody should be able to afford college, and we made available these loans. One thing led to another to where we convinced every kid in America, no matter what your, grade point average is in high school, don't get mad at me, okay? No matter what your grade point average is in high school, that you had to go to college. I mean, there was nothing else but to go to college. You need to go to college. So now we have all these kids in debt, and we have awesome jobs out there. Truck drivers, don't laugh. I mean, there's truck drivers that they will pay for the training. You can go to technical school. They will pay for the truck driver training. They will get you your CDL, $50,000. Just like that. There's truck driving, welding, paint shops and factories, factory jobs that we have brought manufacturing jobs back. There's no need to have $20,000 in dormitory fees and $50,000 in tuition and, have this 100,000 grand or whatever over your head when there's some good jobs. I just wanted to bring up Lanier Tech. I'm pretty sure, I want to look it up today. I want to talk about it tomorrow, okay? Has identified now 17 jobs that are in that are in demand in Georgia. That good paying manufacturing jobs, good paying jobs that are in demand, and you can actually go at no cost. That's what the governor said last night, all right? So that's just something I want to talk about is us being sold that the state school is a have to. Now, please excuse me here. One more thing before we go. And this is kind of off the mark. This is one of those things that I have been watching, okay? Now, we're going to get hit. You will hear me quite often talk about judges. You will hear that quite often. I talk about judges. You will hear me quite often talk about how, you know what, we've got to pay attention to who gets appointed to the courts, and we got to pay attention to what we're faced with here in the future. We have some things coming to a head very closely. Inside the fight against America's wave of now this is obviously, this is from the Daily Beast, so this is slighted to the side of the LGBT community, so they will use words like anti-LGBT. The truth is it's not anti. And that is the lie that always gets told. None of these states are saying that same-sex couples cannot adopt children. Nobody is. But it's saying Catholic charities, it's saying faith-based organizations with a doctrine that says that they do not believe in this, do not have to participate. But it doesn't mean, I made a joke and I don't mean it, let me get to the point, because you will pay attention to this sooner or later. And this is where Georgia, where it gets frustrating. I told you this, that Georgia considers itself a red state, a conservative state, still in the Bible Belt. I mean, it's interesting how many people in the state of Georgia get up on Sunday morning and go to church, but don't pay attention to this stuff. Now, I'm sorry, I might get to preaching here, so you got to be careful. Inside the fight against America's wave on the anti-LGBT adoption bills, okay, there are lawsuits pending or likely in Kansas, Oklahoma, Michigan, and against the Department of Health and Human Services over discriminatory LGBT adoption laws. On May 11th, I brought you that story here, Oklahoma became the 8th state, there's 8 states now, to allow state-licensed child welfare agencies to cite religious beliefs in order to discriminate against LGBT people looking to foster or adopt children. It's not discrimination. See, the state-licensed child welfare agencies to cite religious beliefs, all right, they could be state-licensed child welfare agencies that have no religious ties. See, this, you can have statewide adoption agencies that have absolutely no religious ties. Period. But the protection for your beliefs out there discriminate against the LGBT people looking to foster and or adopt children. Now you remember, this bill was on the floor, was in the Georgia Senate this past session, and it failed. Faith and Adoption Act, remember that? And and foster care. The Sooner State won't be the last. Either Kansas, Governor Jeff Cawley has already said that he looks forward to signing a similar bill that has already cleared the legislation. Okay, so Oklahoma just passed it. Kansas is getting ready to sign it, the governor of Kansas. Both of these laws are notable losses for LGBT advocates in a year that has mostly seen the failure of anti-LGBT bills. Okay, legal challenges already underway could reverse the rising tide of anti-LGBT adoption bills. Troy Stevenson, executive director of the advocacy group Freedom Oklahoma, told the Daily Beast that they have retained counsel and definitely filing a lawsuit but still determining the best timing. The American Civil Liberties Union already has a lawsuit underway against a similar anti-LGBT adoption law in Michigan, which took effect in June 2015. I'm just saying this. The reason I brought this up, there are now 8 states that have this, with several states passing a law like Oklahoma following the 2015 Obergefell decision to legalize same-sex marriage nationwide. Adoption and foster care have become a battleground once again for the fight for LGBT equality. All right? So I just want to bring it up. It's happening in 8 states. There's two bills right now that are going around the nation, and I'm going to have to say, shameful that Georgia is too cowardly to follow suit, okay, on this. No pun intended. Not to follow other states and claim to be conservative Republicans. It's the heartbeat bill, and these bills known as the Adoption, Faith in Adoption Act. There's 2 of them. Heartbeat bill is going to get Roe v. Wade back in to the Supreme Court if enough states pass it. It's going to get it back in, okay? And adoption bills, is going to get your religious liberty, your religious freedom, your right to practice as you wish and choose, is going to get back into the Supreme Court. Pay attention to these 2 here. I'm your host, BKP. We're going to take a brief break, come back and wrap it up.